Throughout time, artists' works have had to hold up against the critique of society and the art world. We seek to explore the topic, are there standards for the arts? We hope to evaluate how changes in times and beliefs lead us to a set of artistic standards of what is accepted as art. Through the works of Fragonard, Picasso, Monet, and Michelangelo, we will explore how societal standards deem what is acceptable as art and how artists' use of sexuality can change those standards over time.
Fragonard was a French painter who was the master of the Rococo style in the 18th century. Fragonard was not accepted as an important professional artist until he was admitted to the Royal Academy in 1765 on the basis of a serious history painting that was neither his taste nor his temperament. Fragonard quickly made clear that he would not become a history painter, but completed this painting in order to conform to the art standards of the time to be accepted by the elite art society. One of his most famous works is the Progress of Love series, completed in 1770 to 1772 for Madame du Barry, King Louis XV's mistress, who commissioned him to paint 4 panels for a new garden pavilion. All 4 paintings, The Pursuit, The Meeting, The Lover Crowned, and The Love Letters, has subtle implications of love and sexual awakening. For example, the fountain in The Pursuit represents the sexual future for the young man and woman, and the statue of Cupid sleeping in The Lover Crowned signifies that Cupid's job is done. Fragonard was never explicit about the taboo topics of love and sex in his paintings, yet another painter was commissioned in the end for Madame du Barry's panels.
Painter Edouard Manet's modern and radical scenes were a target of criticism throughout the 1860s. In 1863, his painting Le Déjeuner sur l'herbe was rejected from the Salon de Paris, one of the greatest art exhibitions in the Western world, because it presented a naked woman standing beside a fully clothed man, which broke the rules of socially accepted art of the time. The 2 men seemed to be engaged in a conversation, ignoring the nude women around them. The familiarity of the people featured in the painting shocked the public, and critics refused to acknowledge its artistic value simply because of the scene it portrayed. Le Déjeuner sur l'herbe went against many of the traditions of the time period and earned Manet the title of the father of modern art. In his controversial painting entitled Olympia, a naked woman lies on her bed with her fully clothed black servant sitting next to her. Spectators were shocked and made to feel uncomfortable by her fixed stare and especially by her resemblance to a prostitute. This painting raised even more controversy than Le Déjeuner sur l'herbe, as critics thought that the painting was radically immoral and vulgar. His depictions of nudity were far from being considered socially acceptable during his era, but today, spectators and critics alike look at his work and see true talent and beauty. Manet was able to open the door to the world of modern art and begin the transition in what society considered art to include images referencing sexuality. With paintings that inspired young artists during that era, Edouard Manet revealed how innovation is not always welcomed by society, but it is one's gateway to the future.
Societal standards for sexuality in the arts had come a long way by the height of modern Cubist artist Pablo Picasso in the first half of the 20th century. No longer did a respected artist need to address the topic of sexuality tastefully concealed behind a romantic facade as in Fragonard's time. And even the portrayal of naked prostitutes did not warrant the same shock as it did for Manet. However, the treatment of said sexuality remained important. The art world responded with controversial outcries in response to Picasso's Cubist depiction of 5 prostitutes in Les Demoiselles d'Avignon. Aside for a few firm advocates, the majority of the art world saw the work as grotesque. Another leading modern artist, Matisse, described it as showing hideous horrors. The work was subject to such harsh criticism not so much because it portrayed nude prostitutes, but because their forms were distorted and their faces, which resembled African masks, were seen as primitive. The controversy sparked over Les Demoiselles d'Avignon drew attention away from other modern artists and towards Picasso, advancing his reputation as an avant-garde wild beast. However, the painting was kept out of the public eye for many years, proving that even art by an otherwise renowned artist was not safe from societal standards.
Michelangelo was also influenced by the societal standards of the time, as can be seen in his sculptures of women. Michelangelo's female figures are very muscular, and are often described as men with breasts. An explanation that people often give for Michelangelo's men with breasts phenomenon, which is more properly called the aesthetic of androgyny, is that during the Renaissance time period, artists couldn't get nude female models. So instead, they just juxtaposed the head and breasts of women on men's bodies. This theory holds that because of stringent controls over female modesty, it was inappropriate for women to get undressed in front of men. There is also evidence that Michelangelo was able to draw nude females. Here is one of his drawings of a nude kneeling woman. Unlike the women in his sculptures, she is very feminine. This points to the fact that he knew how to draw the female body and deliberately, rather than ignorantly, chose to make his female sculptures muscular and masculine. One explanation for this is that during the Renaissance, androgynous bodies were thought to be beautiful. Thomas Laqueur claims that, during the Renaissance, the male body was seen as the normative human body, and that women's bodies were simply imperfect versions of men's. This, he claims, highly influenced the androgynous artistic practices. Both explanations for why Michelangelo's female sculptures appear so masculine point to the fact that what society at the time deemed acceptable affected how he portrayed sexuality.
Our study of these works of art led us to the conclusion that societal standards deem what is acceptable art, but artists and their pieces also change societal standards over time. This idea sparked some additional knowledge questions. If artists have the ability to change the definition of art, is art really a reliable way of knowing? How can we rely on society's standards if they are ever changing? And do society's standards have more of an influence on artists' work, or do artists have a greater impact on societal norms? Even though the public may not have accepted all of these works of art at their time, because of the more liberal associations with sexuality present in modern society, all of the pieces we discussed are accepted as great works of art today and are highly valued for their artistic merit and creativity.